into a case that's, well, it's captivated and puzzled people for years. The disappearance of Maura Murray.
It really has. You start with what seems like, a relatively straightforward car accident. February 9th, 2004, Route 112, Woodsville, New Hampshire.
Just a car in a snowbank.
Exactly. But then the driver, Maura, a 21-year-old nursing student, she just vanishes. Poof.
And for 20 years now, nothing definitive. It's that complete lack of answers that just hooks you, doesn't it?
Absolutely. It defies easy explanation. You expect something, an outcome. But here, it's just question marks.
We're working from an article today that lays out the timeline, the main events, and the various theories people have come up with.
And our goal here, for everyone listening, is to unpack all of that. Try to sort out the solid facts from, all the speculation that naturally crops up in a case like this.
And maybe understand why this case, out of so many, continues to resonate so strongly.
Yeah, what makes it stick in the public mind?
Okay, so let's start with Maura herself. Who was she? Born May 4th, 1982, Hanson, Massachusetts. One of 5 kids.
Right, the 4th of 5. And the descriptions we have paint a picture of someone very determined, athletic, driven.
High achiever in high school, both academically and athletically.
Definitely. She even started out at West Point, ran cross-country there before transferring to UMass Amherst to study nursing. That shows focus,
It does, but the article also touches on some difficulties. Things weren't perfect in the months before she disappeared.
No, it seems there were some relationship issues with her boyfriend, Bill Rausch, and also an incident at UMass involving a stolen credit card, stuff like that.
So, pressures. Underlying stresses, maybe.
It suggests that, important context. But, and this is really key, the article makes it clear there was no obvious sign she was planning to just disappear or hurt herself.
No big red flag saying, I'm about to vanish.
Not that anyone could see at the time anyway, despite those struggles.
Okay, let's look at the days right before she went missing. Things start getting strange. February 5th, just 4 days earlier.
Yeah, she crashes her father's car, the Toyota Corolla. This was on Route 9 in Halle, Massachusetts. Hits a guardrail.
Significant damage, apparently, but she wasn't hurt.
Physically, no. But it's another kind of jarring event right beforehand.
Then that weekend, February 7th and 8th, she's with her dad. He'd rented a car because his was wrecked.
Mm-hmm. And they talked about fixing his car on that Sunday. Her dad later said she seemed troubled, not quite herself.
Troubled? That's interesting. Not specific, but a feeling he had.
Exactly. Something was maybe weighing on her, even if she didn't say what.
Then we hit Monday, February 9th, the day she disappears.
Mm-hmm.
This is where things get really specific. She emails her professors.
Right. Makes up a story about a death in the family, says she'll be gone for a week.
Which was completely untrue.
Completely.
Right.
Then she goes to an ATM, withdraws $280. Not a huge amount, but specific.
Buys alcohol, too, the article mentions.
Yeah, some Kahlua, Bailey's, vodka, and a box of Frenzy wine.
And then she just leaves campus. Doesn't tell her roommate, doesn't tell friends, doesn't tell her boyfriend where she's going.
That part feels deliberate, doesn't it? Packing the car, the fake email, the cash, the alcohol. It suggests some kind of plan, even if we don't know what the end goal was.
A plan to go somewhere, do something, without anyone knowing.
Precisely. Which leads us straight to that hairpin turn on Route 112 later that evening.
The crash. Her black Saturn sedan off the road into a snowbank near Woodsville, New Hampshire. Kind of the middle of nowhere.
Pretty rural area, yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And luckily, or perhaps unluckily, depending on how you look at it, a local school bus driver, Butch Atwood, he sees the car almost immediately.
He lived nearby.
Right nearby. He pulls over, asks Maura if she needs help, if she wants him to call the police.
And her reaction is odd?
Very odd. She says no, declines help, says she's already called AAA, or roadside assistance.
Which, again, wasn't true. There's no record of that call.
None at all. Atwood said she seemed cold, maybe a bit shaken up, but not visibly injured. He didn't see anyone else around.
He noticed the car damage. Front end, but mostly intact. Airbags had gone off, though.
Yeah, airbags deployed. That's significant. He leaves her there, goes home, literally just a short distance away, maybe 100 yards.
And he calls the police himself from home, right? Because he felt something wasn't quite right.
He did. He called 911, said he saw a car, thought she might be intoxicated, though Maura didn't seem drunk to him, just off.
So police are dispatched. How long did it take them to get there?
Pretty quickly, actually. Maybe 10, 15 minutes after Atwood's call.
And when the first officer arrives?
She's gone.
Vanished. Just like that. The car's there, locked.
Locked. Her backpack, textbooks, birth control pills inside, the alcohol she bought. That box of red wine was open, some spilled on the passenger seat.
But some things were missing.
Right. Her keys, her wallet or purse, her cell phone, those were gone. Taken with her, presumably.
So the police start searching immediately.
Well, they look around the immediate area, but there's no Maura. And importantly, no footprints leading away from the car in the snow, except maybe outwards.
No footprints. That's always been the really weird part for me. It's February in New Hampshire. There's snow on the ground.
Exactly. Where did she go? How did she leave without leaving tracks? Did someone pick her up right at that spot?
What about her phone? Any pings? Any calls made after the crash?
Nothing. No outgoing calls, no signal pings after she left the UMass area earlier that day. It was either off, out of battery, or out of service range.
So the initial search ramps up. What did that involve?
It became pretty extensive over the next few days. State police, fish and game officers, search dogs, volunteers.
Helicopters, too.
Yeah, helicopters with infrared cameras searching the woods, trying to pick up a heat signature.
A massive effort, really.
Definitely. But nothing. No sign of her. No clothing scraps, no blood, no indication of a struggle at the crash site itself.
And the search dogs. You mentioned them earlier.
Right. The dogs reportedly picked up her scent at the car. They followed it for about maybe 100 yards east along Route 112.
Towards the middle of the road?
Towards the middle of the road, yeah. And then the scent just stopped. Dead end.
Which suggests...
Well, the prevailing theory based on the dog track is that she might have gotten into a vehicle at that point. Whether willingly or unwillingly, we don't know. But the scent trail didn't continue on foot.
Okay, so that leads us straight into the big theories about what happened. The article lays out the main ones. First, the accident theory.
The idea that maybe she was injured or disoriented from the crash, maybe hypothermia setting in quickly, wandered off into the woods nearby.
And succumbed to the elements. It was a cold night.
It was very cold. It's plausible on the surface. But the big counter-argument, as we've said, is the complete lack of tracks or any physical evidence found during those massive searches of the woods.
If she wandered off, you'd expect something.
Yeah.
Footprint, a piece of clothing, something.
You really would, especially with the scale of the search effort. So while possible, it feels less likely to many because of that missing evidence.
All right, theory number 2, abduction.
This one suggests someone stopped, perhaps pretending to help, or maybe saw an opportunity and took her against her will.
Route 112 is pretty remote, especially at night. Could someone have just happened upon her?
It's possible. It's a scenario you can't rule out. But again, 0 witnesses reported seeing another vehicle stop or any kind of struggle. No physical evidence points to an abduction at the scene.
It relies on an unknown person committing a crime with absolutely no trace left behind.
Exactly. Which is possible, of course, but it remains purely speculative without any supporting facts.
Okay, third major theory, voluntary disappearance.
This one leans on the events before the crash. The email, the cash withdrawal, buying alcohol, leaving without telling anyone.
Suggests she wanted to get away, maybe start a new life, escape those pressures we talked about?
That's the idea. Maybe the crash wasn't part of the plan, but she used it as an opportunity to continue disappearing. Perhaps someone she knew was arranged to pick her up nearby.
But the counterpoint here is, why leave the car? Why leave her backpack, her textbooks, most of her stuff? If you're starting fresh, wouldn't you take more?
That's the big question mark for this theory. Leaving the car left with belongings inside doesn't quite fit a typical running away to start over narrative. It feels incomplete.
And then there are the theories involving people she knew. The article mentions speculation around her boyfriend, Bill Rausch, and her father, Fred Murray.
Yes, and these theories have circulated widely online, often fueled by, small inconsistencies or perceived oddities in their statements or actions over the years.
But the article's careful to point out.
Very careful, and it's crucial. Both Bill and Fred have cooperated with police. They've denied any involvement. And most importantly, there is no concrete evidence linking either of them to her disappearance.
Police have presumably looked into them thoroughly over 20 years.
Absolutely. While the online speculation persists, from an evidence-based standpoint, there's nothing there to suggest their involvement.
It's just amazing how this case stays in the public eye. True crime podcasts, documentaries, websites.
Definitely. The Missing Maura Murray podcast is a huge example. It brought a ton of attention back to the case, generated new discussion, new theories, maybe even some leads, though it's hard to say.
That sustained interest keeps hope alive, but also fuels a lot of that speculation we mentioned.
It does, and it leads to things like that 2019 search the article mentions. A tip led investigators to excavate the basement of a house near the crash site.
Using ground-penetrating radar.
Yeah, but ultimately, nothing was found. It shows leads are still being followed up, though, even now.
So Maura's legacy.
Hmm.
It's become this symbol of the unsolved, hasn't it?
It really has, a modern mystery, and you can't talk about it without acknowledging the immense ongoing pain for her family. Her father, Fred, has been relentless in pushing for answers.
Tireless advocacy. It's heartbreaking.
Absolutely. And despite all the theories, all the searching, all the attention, the core truth remains elusive. We just don't know what happened to her after she got out of that car.
So when you boil it all down, the questions are still the same ones from that night in 2004.
Pretty much. Did she run away? Was she taken? Did she succumb to the elements despite the lack of evidence? Or is there some other explanation entirely that we haven't even considered?
It's deeply frustrating. A young woman vanishes after a minor car crash, and 2 decades later, the mystery is as deep as ever. The search for truth goes on. True crime, no bull.